1, 2, 3, 4. I got thoughts running through my head. I got thoughts, can't you see? I got thoughts, the books I read. I got thoughts, won't you listen to me?
Welcome back to The Author Has Thoughts. This week I'm continuing my series on my fourth cyberpunk novel in the Bridge Chronicles series, The Long and the Short Swords. My review of The Long and the Short Swords is a positive one. I've said many times, and I stand with it, that If Tribe Equals is still my favorite work, my best. I think it's one of my best. This one's like second. It's like right there. I really, really enjoyed this. I thought it moved well. I might have overdone the Bridge sarcasm, smartassery a little bit. I have to read the other books, the next books, to see. But he did feel a little... I felt like I wrote him a little more cocky in this one. And it may have been because I believe I had paused writing the Bridge Chronicles to start on the Stepping Stone stuff. Maybe I hadn't. I don't remember the chronology now. That's what happened when you get old. But Bridge, for whatever reason, Bridge was just smart ass in this one. And I don't necessarily say that as a criticism so much as just something I noticed that felt, I don't know if it felt forced, but it felt less organic, and it might be. I might have done it intentionally and have forgotten it because Bridge, now having dealt with the death of Angela and his part in that, the cynicism may be amped up, and he may be putting on a stronger, more confident, more cocky act, but there's more sourness to it. There's more regret and anger. And maybe that's it. Maybe Bridge just is more angry in this one and feels like he's taking it out on everybody. Like I said, I don't remember that being a conscious decision on my part. Very well may have been. But it's there. It's clearly there. However, that said, I think the book is good. I think it's really good. I've liked the character of Logan. I liked being able to expand the universe of the Five Families with Masa and talking about those guys. And I actually do that again in Reclamation, the next book. Yeah, I totally would give this one 4 stars. I think if you can swallow the idea of the ninja clan that's working for honor, and despite how silly the whole purist ideology would be of not using firearms, I think it's just one of those things where you just got to go with it. It's just like, okay, that probably doesn't make sense in real life, but this is a novel. This is not necessarily meant to be real life. So let's go with that. Because, again, we're talking about a series where we have dudes running around with metal arms. We have wizards using cybernetic gear to cast spells. We have complete out-of-body experiences for, browsing the net or playing video games or all this kind of stuff. VR has gone completely VR. So, again, it's one of those where if ninjas who refuse to use guns, is the bridge too far for you? Really? I mean, okay. Everybody has their points. But again, I like the purist. I like that mentality. I like that mentality within this world. And I think it was all written really well. So yeah, I would give this one 4 stars. I've already gone over my soapbox quotient for this video, so I won't go any further into that, other than to say that the gangland and the autonomous zone is not something to strive for. Combat television is not something to strive for. I'm a huge fan of action movies. Love action movies. But I don't want to see them in real life. And, I recently watched Commando. It was 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie. And it was ridiculous from start to finish. And I had never seen it when I was a kid, amazingly enough. I'd seen a lot of the 80s action movies, but I'd never seen that one. And it just further cemented my idea that I would have loved that movie as a kid and as a teenager. And many of my thoughts and ideas about law enforcement and the use of weapons and guns and all that was somewhat shaped by the 80s movies, the 80s action movies. But it's now one of those things where I'm just a little bit uncomfortable with action movies. I'm comfortable with them as pieces of fiction. I enjoy them as pieces of fiction. They're fun. Staging big staged action set pieces are fun. Things like John Wick, has taken some of that modern cinematic techniques and modern storytelling techniques and put it on the template of the 80s action movie. But as an ethos for law enforcement and for for law enforcement, action movies are terrible role models. Dirty Harry breaking all the rules, shooting guys in the head, and having these big action set pieces is not meant to be a good thing. It's a very bad thing. And as we saw just this past weekend in Atlanta, another black man shot in the back as he flees from police. And to my knowledge, what little I know about it, the only crime he seems to have committed was the original crime, which was apparently DUI. He failed a DUI test. But then he freaks out and, either gets tased or grabs a police officer's taser, fires back at him as he's running away. He fires at the police officer with a taser. To my knowledge, the man was not armed. He's just, not wanting to get arrested, beaten, killed by the police, and was drunk, probably. It's hard to say that police officers should show restraint, knowing that they're people, they're humans, and they have to, try to protect themselves as well. But I think that's part of the issue we have with both police and the general public, is the police feel somewhat. This is not only about the police with the us versus them mentality. That's a whole other issue. But there's so goddamn many guns available, and it's so relatively easy to get a gun that police naturally have to assume, or think they have to assume, that everybody has a gun, even if they don't see it, if they don't display it. So they have to treat every suspect potentially as someone who could shoot them in the head. Naturally, that will make one paranoid, and when someone attacks them, they respond by the escalation of, I'm always, it's kind of a cliche, but I'm always reminded of the Sean Connery quote from The Untouchables. If he brings a knife, you bring a gun. He puts one of your guys in the hospital, you put one of his in the morgue. That kind of escalation is what we've got going on. That's the theory we have, is that our police have been given these guns, and if they've got a gun, they'll use it. Because they're going to think automatically, well, he's going to bring a knife, I'll bring a gun. And if there's a gun out there, I need a bigger gun. So it's this escalation in weaponry and in armor, and that is partly caused by there just being too many goddamn guns available in this country. and I've spoken about mass shootings and gun control before. I think I have at least. But, in my world, in my Cyberpunk Bridge Chronicles world, we pretty much have open carry, open use in Los Angeles for sure. Everybody's strapped. And part of that is that I wanted that world to be part of an RPG where you have a lot of combat. Because, again, that's fun to me. But it also, falls from many of the action movie influences that I love so much. But, like Mike Pondsmith said, it's not meant to be aspirational. It's meant to be a warning. This is what is a result of that. And another black man getting shot in the back and killed by a police officer is the result. Now, I'm not saying the officer shouldn't try to restrain him, because obviously they should. If he's breaking the law, he needs to have been arrested. And, driving while under the influence is very dangerous and can kill people. But it goes back to what I said previously in, my last set of videos about the George Floyd killing, is the punishment is not meeting the crime, and the people who are meting out the punishment are the police, and that's not their role. That's not supposed to be their role. Judge, jury, and executioner is not supposed to be in one person. That's why we have judges. That's why we have an executioner when we have the death penalty, or we have prison wardens when we're executing the, imprisonment as a punishment. DUI does not come with a death sentence. You have to, depending on what state you're in, you have to kill a bunch of people with your DUI in order to even be considered for the death sentence. So, while I certainly think they should have apprehended the man, when he's running, even when he's firing the taser at you, at one officer, and, a taser, the way that works, you get one shot. And you might knock one officer down, but that other one is there, and he's got backup. All that said, if the guy's running away, you have his car, which means you have his license plate, which means you know where he lives. You can find the guy. Pursuit is, you could let him run if the choice is let him run and find him later, or shoot him now and he dies. While I don't want to say that the officers should have just totally let him go, because obviously they shouldn't have, but that's where our policing is falling down, is that we're giving police the tools and the mentality that they can enact a sentence that is disproportionate to the crime. And they're using it disproportionately on people of color. And that has to stop. I know I said I wasn't going to get on the soapbox again, but damn if I did. Blame the times. Well, that has been this episode of The Author Has Thoughts. Left it on kind of a somber note, but I think the times dictate it. So, if you want to read a book that I think is pretty good, you can continue with the series with Long and the Short Swords. I think my next video I may switch back to the Cthulhu stuff, or I may just burn through Reclamation because I want to be able to read that to help me with writing the book that I'm kind of struggling with writing now. It's not so much a struggle as it is making myself write. Hopefully we'll get that ironed out. I'm hoping to have that book out by the end of the summer, but don't hold me to it. It's a crazy time. I've been very busy outside of both at work and outside of work. And you might have thought that being quarantined would let me write more, but it's actually let me write less. But this has been The Author Has Thoughts. I've just been discussing my fourth novel, The Long and the Short Swords. I hope you enjoy it. It's a really good novel. And I will see you whenever I next see you. My name is Gary Ballard, and this has been my thoughts.
I got thoughts,
figure if I make enough of these silly little bumpers at the end, somebody might actually watch the video to the end, or even from the beginning. Who knows?